Hey everyone, today I'm speaking to anyone out there who wants to write a book but has no idea where to start. Please subscribe, like, and comment below. Hit the notification bell to know when I release new content. So maybe you have a story idea. Maybe you have a character in your head who refuses to shut up. Maybe you have a fantasy world, a mystery, a sci-fi concept, or just one scene that keeps replaying in your mind. Maybe you're also thinking, who am I to write a book? Well, let me help you with that. So I was always pretty good at math and science. Numbers made sense, equations behaved, science had rules. If something exploded, there was usually a reason for it. English and literature, though, that was a different story. I was a solid B-minus student.
No such thing, bad student, only bad teacher.
Not terrible, but also not great. Just kind of academically existing. I was not the kid where teachers whispered, one day this boy will become an author. They were probably more like, one day this boy may properly use a comma. We have hope. So if you're sitting there thinking you need to have been the best English student in your school before you write a book, you don't. You need curiosity, discipline, imagination, and a willingness to get better. My journey really started in middle school. I was reading Hardy Boys books and Star Trek The Next Generation novels. That was where the spark started for me. Mysteries, adventure, strange worlds, big questions, and characters who kept pulling me forward. Then I graduated into more fantasy series and the classics that shaped a lot of us. Tolkien, Goodkind, Salvatore, every Dragonlance novel I could get my hands on. The Horus Heresy novels, Storm of Iron, Dan Abnett and Graham McNeil, J.K. Rowling, Timothy Zahn and the Thrawn trilogy, George R.R. Martin, who I'm always hard on because I'm still waiting for Winds of Winter, like it's a family member who said they were 5 minutes away 12 years ago.
The one who's making a scene right now.
I'm not making a scene right now.
No, we want to make a scene.
I can appreciate historical authors and some horror too, but for me, horror usually works best when it bleeds into science fiction or fantasy. Give me cosmic dread, ancient ruins, strange creatures, haunted technology, cursed kingdoms, alien mysteries, that kind of thing. I also like a decent crime novel, but I'll admit those can be tough for me sometimes because of my background in forensic science, police procedure, and investigations. I can see through a lot of the nonsense writers use to move the plot forward.
Don't touch anything without gloves.
So a detective walks into a scene, touches every piece of evidence without gloves, interviews one person, solves the case in 8 minutes, and somehow the DNA match is back before they even got samples from the suspect. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there thinking that's not how any of this works. But that matters because your background matters. Whatever you've done in your life, whatever you've studied, whatever jobs you've had, whatever hobbies you have, whatever strange little facts live rent-free in your brain, those things can become part of your writing voice. You do not need to start as an expert author. You start as a reader. That is the first real piece of advice I would give to aspiring authors. Read. Read as much and as often as you can. Read inside the genre you love, but also read outside of it. Read books that amaze you and read books that frustrate you. Both will teach you something. When a book grabs you, ask why. Was it the character? The pacing, the mystery, the world, the emotion, the voice? When a book loses you, ask why. Was the dialogue stiff? Did the plot drag? Did the world feel fake? Did the characters make choices just because the author needed them to? That kind of reading is how you start training your instincts. The second piece of advice is this. Do not wait until you feel ready, because you will probably never feel ready. I did not wake up one morning with a beam of golden author light shining through the window while a voice said, "Congratulations, you are now qualified." I started because I had stories I wanted to tell. That's it. Simple, right? You start by writing one scene, then another, then another. Eventually those scenes become chapters. Eventually those chapters become a draft. And eventually, after enough work, frustration, revision, muttering to yourself, questioning your life choices, and maybe eating snacks you definitely did not need to eat, you then have a book.
But it's so hard. God.
The third piece of advice is to accept that your first draft is allowed to be bad. In fact, it probably will. That does not mean you are bad. It means you are building something. And I know that sounds discouraging, but it really isn't. It is actually one of the most freeing things you can understand as a writer. Your first draft doesn't have to be brilliant or clean. It doesn't even have to impress anyone. It won't make your high school English teacher suddenly appear in a dream and say, "I always knew you had it in you, kid." My first drafts were not sacred texts. They were not delivered from the mountain on stone tablets. Sometimes they were barely coherent. Sometimes I reread a sentence I wrote and thought, was I tired? Was I hungry? Was I being attacked by bees? That is perfectly normal. First draft is not the final product. It is the raw material. It is the questionable pile of lumber in the driveway before the house gets built. Nobody walks up to a construction site, sees framing, exposed wires, sawdust, and a portable toilet, and then says, wow, what a terrible house.
Are you stupid or something?
Well, duh, because it's not done yet. That is what your first draft is. It is the construction site. The problem is that a lot of new writers expect the first draft to come out looking like a finished book. They compare their messy page to a published novel that has been revised, edited, proofread, formatted, and polished by multiple people. That is not a fair comparison to you. That is like comparing your first day at the gym to a professional athlete and then saying, well, I guess fitness just isn't for me. No, you just started, dummy. When you are writing a first draft, your job is not to make it perfect. Your job is to get the story out of your head and onto the page, and that's it. You are discovering what the story is. You are figuring out the characters. You are learning the world. You are finding the voice. You are making all the mistakes. You are creating problems that future you will have to fix. And future you is going to be annoyed. Future you is going to look back and say, why did you name this character 3 different things in chapter 4? Future you is going to ask, why is this sword important in chapter 2 and then never again mentioned? Future you is going to wonder, why did this horse travel 200 miles in an afternoon? Is it a horse or a teleporter from Star Trek? That's fine because that's what revision's for. You can fix messy scenes, sharpen dialogue, cut chapters. You can add motivation. You can clean up pacing. You can repair continuity. You can make the emotional moments land harder. But you cannot revise a blank page. A blank page gives you nothing to work with. It just sits there staring at you all smug and it pisses you off.
Sucks! That's great! And the bread was really... Come on, help me out here. Rough.
Perfectionism kills books. It convinces you to rewrite the same first chapter 27 times while the rest of the story sits there untouched, wondering if it will ever be born. Do not let that happen. Write the draft, get it out of your head. Let it be awkward, let some chapters limp. Let some dialogue sound like it was written by a malfunctioning vending machine. Let the villain be too obvious at first. Let the emotional scene be too dramatic. Let the action scene be confusing. Let the romantic tension have all the subtlety of someone falling down a flight of stairs.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
You can fix it later. The first draft is where you make the mess. The second draft is where you start cleaning it up. The third draft is where you pretend you meant to do it that way all along. And somewhere after that, with enough work, the story starts to look like a real book. The fourth thing is to learn your own process. This is where a lot of aspiring authors get stuck, because they think there's one official way to write a book. Here's an inside clue. There isn't. Some writers outline everything. I mean everything. They know chapter 27 before they finish chapter 1. They know the character arcs, the plot twist, the betrayal, the emotional breakdown, and probably what everyone had for breakfast.
Like my story? No, not your story, a story.
Other writers discover the story as they go. They sit down, start typing, and follow the characters into the fog, like, well, I hope someone here knows where they're going. Both can actually work. Some people are simply planners. Some people are discovery writers. Some people are a dangerous mix of both, which usually means they make an outline, ignore half of it, then act surprised when the story changes. I may know a guy that fits that description. Personally, I think it helps to at least have a basic roadmap. You do not need every detail figured out. You should know the direction you are heading. Who's your main character? What do they want? What stands in their way? What happens if they fail? That alone can carry you a long way. Think of it like taking a road trip. You don't need to know every gas station, every pothole, every questionable diner, and every weird roadside attraction before you leave. But you should probably know what state you are driving toward. Otherwise, you are not writing a novel. You are literary wandering. And if you are writing a fantasy or science fiction novel, world building is great, but be very careful. It is very easy to spend 6 months designing kingdoms, religions, magic systems, starship engines, ancient wars, languages, trade routes, family crests, burial customs, moon phases, military ranks, and the tax policy of a city that appears once on page 312. Again, I may know a guy. World building can become a fancy way to avoid actually writing the story. You tell yourself, I cannot write chapter 1 yet. I still need to know how the Northern Kingdom regulates imported cheese. No, you don't. Unless the cheese is cursed, politically important, or about to kill someone, move on and come back to the lore components later. Your readers need enough detail to believe the world is real. They do not need your entire fictional senses. Build what matters. Add depth where it supports the plot, the characters, or the mood. Let the rest develop as they go.
As writers, we are all hung up. But we are also hung up.
The most important thing is momentum. And that's where I sometimes feel I failed when I wrote my first 3 books of a 10-book series. I got into the weeds, trying to build the world with exposition and through multiple points of view, which is the style how I chose to write the series. Like a movie playing in my head. It is non-traditional and can confuse many people, including editors. Yep, me again. At some point, the story has to move. Characters have to make choices. Trouble has to arrive. Someone needs to open the door when they are warned not to open it. Process matters because it keeps you writing. Find what works for you, not what sounds impressive online. If outlining helps, outline. If writing scenes out of order helps you, do that. If talking your plot out loud in your car helps, congratulations. You are now the strange person at the red light explaining chapter 14 to yourself. Welcome to becoming a writer. The 5th thing is to understand that writing is not just inspiration. It is discipline. Inspiration is that friend who says, we should totally hang out this weekend, and then disappears for 3 months. Discipline is the friend who actually arrives with a truck when you need to move furniture. That is what gets the book written. A lot of people imagine writing like this romantic movie scene. The author sits beside a window during a thunderstorm, sipping coffee, wearing a sweater, and suddenly a beautiful prose pours onto the page. Sometimes writing is like that, but for me it's more clicking from pressing the backspace than actual typing, while you're hearing lawnmowers and airplanes flying over your house. Most of the time, writing is staring at a sentence and thinking, was this written by me, a grown adult, or by a raccoon that found a keyboard? Yep, me again. Do not wait for the perfect mood. Do not wait for the perfect desk. Do not wait for the perfect laptop, perfect notebook, perfect candle, perfect music playlist, or perfect emotional state. If I waited until everything felt perfect, I would have written 3 paragraphs and reorganized my office 47 times. Set a realistic goal. Maybe it is 500 words a day. Maybe it is 1 chapter a week. Maybe it is 37 minutes before work or an hour at night. Maybe it is writing at lunch breaks, weekends, or after everyone else in the house goes to sleep. Whatever fits your life, make it consistent and make it realistic.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Do not start by saying, I am going to write 10,000 words a day, every day, while also working, exercising, cooking, cleaning, sleeping, and being emotionally available to my family. It will never happen. This is not a writing plan. That is a cry for help, and you need an intervention, and possibly handcuffs. Start smaller. Build the habit. Let it grow. Even 300 words a day adds up. 1 page a day becomes a book. Progress does not have to be dramatic to be real.
I'm talking about having our fingers in the holes and the whole damn dike's crumbling around us.
The problem is that people underestimate consistency because it's not exciting. Nobody wants to make a movie trailer where the hero writes 500 words, saves the file, drinks water, and goes to bed at a reasonable hour. But that is often how books get finished. Not in one magical burst. Not in one perfect weekend. Not because the muse descended from the clouds and handed you chapter 23. Books get written because the writer keeps coming back. Keep going. You can fix bad pages later. You cannot revise pages you never wrote. Discipline is how you survive the middle of a book, because the middle is where confidence goes to die. The beginning is exciting. The ending is exciting. The middle is where you realize the brilliant idea now requires structure, pacing, character development, and possibly a whiteboard covered in multicolored notes and magnets. You are the detective of your own novel, after all. Number 6, get feedback, but get the right kind. This is important because once you write something, eventually someone else has to read it. And that is utterly terrifying. Kind of like me getting my wife to watch my YouTube videos before I post them. Utterly terrifying. You can write an entire battle scene with dragons, demons, collapsing kingdoms, and heroic sacrifice, but handing the manuscript to one actual human being will still feel more dangerous.
Go ahead, read.
Your brain immediately says, what if they hate it? What if they judge me? What if they find a typo on page 1 and report me to the Council of Elrond?
Council of Elrond is from Lord of the Rings?
There is no council. Plus, I hope you read The Fellowship of the Ring and understand that reference. If not, stop this video and start reading the book immediately.
Have you heard nothing Lord Elrond has said?
Feedback matters, but not all feedback is equal. Not everyone is your audience. Not everyone understands what you're trying to do. And not every opinion should become a command. If you write dark fantasy and give it to someone who only reads cozy beach romances, their feedback may not be useless, but you have to understand the filter. If they say, could there be fewer prophecies and more dachshunds? That might not be your target reader. Same thing the other way around. If someone writes a small town romance and I say, this is good, but have you considered adding an ancient evil under the bakery? That may be less helpful. Well, actually, now I think about it, let me write that idea down. Feedback should help you make your story better, not turn it into someone else's story. Look, for readers who understand the genre, understand what you are trying to do, and are willing to be honest without being too cruel, you do not need someone who says everything is perfect. That feels nice for about 5 minutes, but it doesn't help you. Good feedback sounds like this. I like this character, but I get confused here. This scene felt slow. I did not understand why she made this choice. This chapter really worked. This ending landed. This part pulled me out of it. That kind of feedback gives you something useful. Listen for patterns. If one person says a chapter is slow, that is one opinion. If 5 people say the chapter is slow, you should probably look at it again. And when you get criticism, try not to take it as an attack. That is hard, I know. But remember, you understand the world, the characters and the lore. Because it's your world, they're only getting what they read on your pages. Feedback is part of the process. Also, learn the difference between taste and craft. Taste is a very personal thing. Someone might not like multiple points of view narration. Someone might not like dragons. Someone might not like long battles or slow burn mysteries. That does not automatically mean those things are wrong. Craft issues are different. Confusing scenes, flat characters, broken pacing, unclear stakes, repetitive dialogue, missing motivation. Those are things you can work on. Just remember, every single human writer has deleted a sentence and stared at the screen like they just buried a friend. But the story comes first. Get the feedback. Take a breath. Do not respond defensively. Let the notes sit for a day. Then go back and look at them with a cooler head. Some feedback you will use. Some feedback you will ignore. Some feedback will annoy you because it's correct. That is usually the worst kind. The 7th thing is to remember why you started. Publishing is hard. Marketing is hard. Editing is hard. Formatting, covers, descriptions, websites, social media, copyright registration, all of that can feel overwhelming. But the reason you start is because stories matter. When I finished my dissertation, I was told by one of my professors, your research is a brick in the wall. It's not going to change the world, but it's just another piece to firm it up. That's more important now than ever. As AI authors are publishing 200 books a year on Amazon, it's hard for normal human authors to keep up with the saturation, but important for the long-term health of the human creation. AI can't create, only humans truly can. Books have been part of my life since those Hardy Boys and Star Trek novels in middle school. They helped shape my imagination. They gave me places to go, characters to follow, and worlds to think about long after I closed the pages. That is what made me want to write. And if you are watching this, maybe you had that same feeling. Maybe there's a story inside you that has been waiting for years. So start.
Oh, writer's block, writer's block.
Do not wait until you feel like a real writer. Real writers write. They learn, they revise, they fail. They improve, they keep going. You do not need to be perfect. You do not need to have been an A+ literature student. You do not need permission. I was a B- English student who liked math, science, fantasy, science fiction, crime stories, and worlds bigger than the one outside my window. Now I'm a published author. So yes, you can start too. Write the first page, then write the next one. That is how it all begins. If this helped you, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment with a story idea you have been thinking about, and let me know where you are in your writing journey. I would love to start interviewing new and aspiring authors to get their perspectives on writing and give your books a way to get onto other platforms. If you are interested, please email me. Listing is in the description. And if you are already writing, keep going. Your future readers are waiting. And as always, today's quote by Mark Twain. Substitute damn every time you're inclined to write very. Your editor will delete it and the writing will be just as it should be. Thanks for watching.